Hi everyone and happy Monday. We have the 11th of September's planner page to do today, well, to make a start on. It's quite a complex page. I'm sure we're not going to be doing it in just one video. Let's come in a little bit closer. It is a picture of a magical jungle and I have done it a few times before, actually 3 times before, once following Chris Cheng's amazing video and then a couple of times on my own. But what I've decided to do today is to try and keep it a little bit simple. I think it's quite a daunting picture, to be honest, and so I've got a small set of pencils so I'm not overwhelmed. I've picked my Staedtler super soft, these are the Staedtler, they say super soft here, they've got black barrels. They're from their Design Journey range, but they are specifically super soft. They only come in a size up to 24. I'm not sure if they're quite their Ergosoft replacements. I think the plain Staedtler Design Journey are a little bit more vibrant. But I thought I would have a go. With these, I haven't used them for ages. Excuse me. So I'm going to make a start right away with our flamingos. I think they are rather fun and sweet. And so that's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to do them pink. Obviously, wow, I say obviously. I'm going to use the number 25 pink because it's, for me, slightly reddish orangish, so I think it works quite well for a flamingo. Flamingos are often, let's come in a little bit sort of orangey. I'm going to give them a sharp, this is sharp, and all my pencils are very blunt from this set. Okay, so as I say, it is number 25 and it is called Pink. Okay, so what I'm going to do with each flamingo is just to go over all the bits that I want pink with this, just in a fairly even layer. The first thing I'm noticing is this pencil seems a bit scratchy. For something that's called super soft, I'm a little bit surprised. But anyway, maybe it's just me or just this particular pencil. Now some flamingos are very orangey. Trying to think of I think, are they the lesser flamingos? I'm trying to remember. I go to somewhere in, the WWT Slimbridge and they have every type of flamingo that there is. And there are Andean, there are James flamingo, there's lesser and greater, I think. I can't remember the other type. Now I'm going to leave some of these feathers because flamingos do have some black feathering sometimes and some white. I'm sort of going to pretend they don't have white because it's easier, and I think it looks a bit better if you actually colour it in rather than leave things white sometimes. I haven't really done a lot of white colouring as such. Right, so that's the main bit. It's just very light at the moment. And I think I will just layer up a little bit where I think it should be darker. So at the top of the legs here, I think it'd be a little bit darker here because it would be in the shade. I'm just tidying that bit up as I go. And I think at the base of the body here would be a bit darker. Now Johanna's drawn us a little swirly thing here. I'm sort of going to ignore that bit. We'll just let Johanna's picture look pretty through what I'm doing. I'm going to do a little bit of a darker line on the top of the neck, but just to try and make it look a little bit more rounded by making the edges dark, but it would usually be darker at the bottom. Just spread that in a little bit. Excuse me, I'm a bit hoarse, I've just been eating. It's actually after tea. It's a bit later in the day today, but I had a visitor this afternoon who is the chap who's going to be doing our balcony, and it sort of reminded me that he's not going to be that long until he's coming, so I need to get a little bit ahead with some videos so that, because when he's fitting my balcony it's going to be very noisy and it's not going to be, I'm going to darken the top of there right away, the right conditions for recording videos. And of course I'll be able to do some at weekends or evenings, but it's not always that predictable because sometimes we get invited out to places at weekends or we get busy doing various bits and pieces. So I thought I'd come and just record one now. Might do the whole page, might just do one video and see how I feel. Sometimes I'm a bit tired in the evening for recording, but tonight I'm okay. So it just depends. I'm in the middle of a picture next door though, which I sort of like to do, but I will get round to it. It's Hannah Carlson, Magical Dawn, I think I chose. I'm not so familiar with Hannah's books, so I couldn't look at a picture and then tell you what book it's from. I'm just thinking about my approach for these, I was going to say leaves. They're really not leaves, they're feathers. I think what I'll do is, excuse me, is I'll fade towards the tip of the feather. Like that. It's quite subtle. I may have to darken a bit. Yeah, because my son was recording tonight as well, so if I'm next door I have to be quiet anyway. I thought I might as well come and make a noise in here. It's a really sunny evening. It's very cold in the house. I've got my slippers on, my winter slippers and a jumper. I'm feeling quite chilly. But I rather like feeling, I'd much rather feel chilly than hot. It's just a bit of a surprise really. I'm not complaining, I'm just surprised. So here a little bit more layers here, less towards the tip like that. So this, as you can see, is very simple colouring. If you want to do something really detailed with lots of layers, then go and look at Chris Chang's video and you will get the most absolutely stunning picture. But this is a slightly smaller version than the one in the original book, which is partly why it can be a little bit more tricky, and it's perhaps a bit easier to not make it quite so so many layers in it. I'm going to do this bit quite light, I think, and also you could use it as a sort of practice piece. The planner, I think some people find they do that in the planner. They use it for practicing techniques or colour combinations and things like that. It's obviously completely up to you how you use it. I think by now, next year's planner will be out in the UK. I felt a little bit cross because the planner came out in the USA, then 2024 planner, really early in the year, and us in the UK didn't get it. It's like, why not? We should get it first. No offence, but Johanna is British. It'd be like if Hannah Carlson's books came out in the UK first rather than Sweden. I think the Swedes would be a little bit annoyed. Anyway, I'm not going to take it out on you. I can do a little bit of a darker layer at the bottom there. I rather like the colour of these. This pink, it's a very pretty pink, I always think. Now I'm going to grab my black and put in some black. Now we don't want it necessarily, this is number 9, which is the black, really, really dark in all of it. So for example, this feather here at the back, this is where my hand has decided I'm going to start. Make it a little bit dark here on that sort of top edge, and then I'm going to fade it towards the tip so it goes quite light. And the same with this one. So then it doesn't look really, really dark. And I'm hoping because these pencils are fairly hard, they won't smudge. Because sometimes black can be a bit smudgy, but Staedtlers usually don't smudge. And it's not too warm today, which helps, I think. Sometimes if it's too hot, pencils can go a bit squishy. I know some people who have really hot temperatures can't use their Prismas when it's really warm, because yeah, they sort of melt, which isn't good. I can't remember what colour the beaks are on a flamingo. I shall have a ponder while I do these feathers over here. I'm going to do them in the same way. It's such a nice sunny evening. I haven't been out today. I'm really tempted to have a little walk before it gets too dark. So nights are drawing in now, so it's getting dark quite early, which again I really like, but I was thinking about a canal walk and I don't want to do that in the dark. Now I think this bit and this bit should be a little bit black, not really dark black. So a few layers. And then I feel this bit on the top of the beak needs to be really dark black, excuse me, and leave a little shine line like that. There we go. And I think I'm going to do the legs and the beaks in a grey. We've got number 80 here, which is the light grey, so it might be a little bit too light, but I'm going to give it a go. There we go. I'll just show you the number 80. Oh, it's a bit blurred, sorry about that. So it's right here. They're quite small, aren't they? Again, I'm thinking we might be able to want to leave a little bit of a shine. Maybe just in one place. It's going to look a bit odd. There we go. Sorry, I'm just going to wipe my nose, and then I think the legs maybe not quite so dark. Oh, sorry. Now, we'd start on this leg. I'm going to go quite lightly. Go right through the plants there. I'm guessing it's that bit. Now what I would like to do is to make them a little darker on each edge. It's going to be tricky because this is a very light colour and they're very thin. Might be a little easier on this one. I'm going to do quite a light layer through the leg. And this one disappears right down through this little leaf. Go down now under, and then thinking we'd have some shadow here and up here, and then particularly at the bottom of this leg, and maybe just a little bit each side. Excuse me, and then down here and down here. There we go. Now these feathers, I was thinking about leaving white. This has got a lot of pink all over it where I haven't stayed in the lines. I'm wondering whether to do them grey. I think I might. I think it will work. I'm just going to leave a bit of white, I think, in the middle there. And this one I might just do like this top bit, leave that bit. Like that. And then, yeah, you could leave those white, but I'm actually rather happy with them in grey. So there are flamingos. Okay, now what are we going to do next? We could do some sky behind them. I quite fancy doing that. Now what colours have I got? I've got 38, that's sea green. I've got 37 ultramarine blue, 30 which is light blue, 3 which is blue, and 33 which is cobalt. I think I will go for the 30, the light blue. I'll give it a sharpen for the sky. There we go. So 30. Now how you do the sky is obviously totally up to you. You might want to do a sunset or sunrise, you might not just want it to be blue. Now you might want to do it around the whole of this or just in the inner circle. I'm going to just do it in the inner circle. I'm going to colour horizontally because I think that works better for sky, and I'm not going to put any clouds in my sky. I'm just going to colour a blue. And you might find it easier to do these little leaves first, but I think I would have done too, but I've started now, so I'm just gonna persevere with it. And I may need to come back with some blue to go around the leaves where I've missed once we get to doing them. Now they are teeny tiny leaves, and that's part of the reason why I picked, well, that's why I picked Staedtler pencils, because we need to get into all these little details. But super soft, I just thought were a bit different. We haven't tried them for a while, so yeah, so we'll give them a go. Now I'm pretty sure that in Chris Cheng's version she sort of does water at the bottom and sky at the top. I think we need to meld into something, because down here in between these plants, oh, I'm pointing, you can't see, sorry, in between the plants that are at the bottom there wouldn't be sky, you know, the sky would fade off. So I think I'm going to do some green at the bottom. So I'm just gonna put in this sky. Now it's not very even, as you can see, it's not going down too evenly. Does that matter? Well, it's a very personal thing. Sky is sometimes very even. I'm looking outside now and we've got white clouds fluffing around in the sky, and I think I'm just going right down to the sort of tops of the plants like that, and I'll leave it, and then I'll do a different colour behind those. I might do the blue down to there though, there. So no, they're not always the same colour. The sky, I mean, isn't always like just flat blue the whole time, and it might be where these flamingos live, but as I say, we have them locally. They don't go outside when it's really cold. They have special houses with heaters in, you know, when it's windy or frosty or whatever. I've gone all over those leaves. Oh dear, I am tired. My eyes are struggling a bit. I think I need to see an optician. I keep saying this, don't I? But we'll see. I've got to book my children in for an eye test too, but we need their timetables first for university, and they haven't been able to enrol. I am recording this a bit in advance. Hopefully by this date that I'm recording this they would have done, but not yet as of today. It's still August. We're recording this. As I say, I'm getting ahead, which is nice. I actually did last week's planner page, the elephant, this morning. Now I'm doing this next one. Very different pages, obviously from completely different books. Right, I think that's enough going down far enough. I'm just going to look through it and darken it in areas and tidy it up. It isn't mega neat, but that's not what I was looking to achieve. Now we have got, I'm trying to see how many greens we've got. We've got 3 greens, that's all. So it's going to be a bit tricky using, I think I'm going to do, see, I get a bit stuck here because this circle doesn't go all the way round the bottom here. So where do I sort of stop the background, or do I do a different bit up there? Not sure. I think I will just take my sea green, the number 38, ooh, and do that behind them and go all the way down to the bottom. I'm going to go between all the plants. I could even start down at the bottom. Hang on. You'll need to be able to see what I'm doing. I think it will be darker in the background. I think a darker background will also help things to stand out, but I'm thinking, I think it will be darker because there'll be more shadows, different to the sky where you don't get sort of a shadowing effect. But if we're thinking there's lots of sort of maybe other flowers, leaves and things behind here, then it would be darker, I think. I'm wondering as I'm colouring this whether to limit my colour scheme for my flowers as well, whether to maybe keep them all the same so they're pretty. I won't be wanting to use the same colour as I've used for the flamingos for a start. I don't want them all identical, but maybe if I limit it to a few colours. Same as the leaves, I've now only got 2 greens. I've got, no, 3 greens. I've got 5, 50 and 56. They're all so different. One's just the green, you've got the willow green and the light olive, so they're quite different to each other. It's a little bit tricky to know quite what to do. They can be combined and form different shades, but do I want to do that, or do I just want to keep it really simple? I'm getting hot. I wonder if I'm having a hot flash. I haven't had one for ages. Yeah, I am. Just undo my hoodie. I think it's quite a lot warmer up here though than it was in the kitchen where I wasn't wearing a hoodie earlier. So that might have something to do with it. Now here, where there are very thin stalks or stems, what Chris Cheng does in hers is draws them in green and then colours her background over the black line and puts in a green line just to one side. But that's because she uses Prismacolors which aren't see-through. So if you put enough layers down you can actually hide those black lines. Whereas these pencils are see-through, so we can see those lines, so we can just leave them as they are. I'm thinking. Sorry, I'm going to have to take this hoodie off. Phew. Oh, sorry. Phew, I could have stopped the camera, I suppose, but I've done it now. There we go. Hopefully I will cool off a bit now. Now it's quite slow going with the Staedtler to do a background. I wouldn't usually choose them for a background for many pages. I have done. I have used them for quite a big background on a Hannah Carlson page before, but I wouldn't normally because they take a long time. I'm not sure why I did for that particular one, but now this is 2 leaves. But what's going on down here is I'm thinking that there and that there are background and that's the base of that, I'm guessing. Yes, so I did one for Hannah Carlson which actually came out quite well, but because this is very fiddly details and quite small, I think it's fine. But if it was a big background, no, I wouldn't use them. I would use something else. You know me, I like my pastels, soft pastels, but also could use a Prismacolor is quite good for background actually. Derwent's, there's a cat there, isn't there? The Derwent Lightfasts, or the even the Derwent oh, what are they called? Derwent drawing pencils. They're nice. They're really nice. I haven't used mine for ages. Alright, I'm going to fade that off a bit because I think I might put some blue at the top there. But we're going to go back through here and look for gaps. There's a bit of a gap here. I'm going to try and fade it a little bit into that blue. That's partly why I chose this colour, because I think it can work in that way. That's a bit of background there. It's a little bit fiddly just to work out what's happening, but to be honest, does it really matter if you go a little bit wrong? Who's going to mind? Yeah, so I've had a day of colouring really today. As I said, I've done one planner. I did the planner page before this earlier. And actually I did a bit of research work about YouTube, excuse me, which is quite interesting, about making good thumbnails. It's not my best thing, but right here. But it was quite interesting, talking about what colours you should make them. I've heard this before, really. It just reminded me, and a few other things. So it was quite interesting, just to try and get more people seeing the videos and liking, subscribing, etc. You know, helping to grow the channel, reach out to more colourists and artists generally, and hopefully even people that maybe don't think they're artists, that can have a little look and think, actually I could do that. That's what I try and, that's my aim really, is not only to help people who are already colourists and who already enjoy it, and hopefully to increase their enjoyment, but also to you know, encourage people who don't think they can do art or who don't regularly do it to sort of have a go. There's you know, we all know that there are so many benefits to it for all of us. Different benefits for different people maybe too, but you know, it's rather nice to try to think that we could maybe help other and encourage other people, which is nice. Now, just reaching in between the grasses. Some of these bits are darker than other bits. Okay, I'm going back down here. But you can see it's all rather samey, but what it helps with is that I can now see what's going on with regards to leaves and flowers and things. It's a lot easier, I think, with the background blocked in. Might not make a big difference to you. I just find it can look a bit of a jumble. And then once I've gone through with the background, I can see. But of course there's no right or wrong with regards to backgrounds and order. Some people much prefer to do their backgrounds last. Some people prefer to do them first. Some people don't mind. I mean, I've done it in the middle. I think if you've got a huge background, which is very daunting, and you're doing it with pencil and it's taking a long time, I would advise doing it bit by bit. So do, you know, a bit of background, then a bit of foreground, a bit of background, you know, because then you don't get so bored if you're doing the same sort of background all the time. You know, or if you're layering up your background, wow, that's a bit inaccurate, isn't it? If you're layering up your background, I think I need to sharpen. Then you might want to do one layer and then do something else and then go back and do another layer, and then you're not continuously pushing on that background all the time, which, as I say, it can get a little bit boring or tedious, and you may end up rushing it or trying to push hard so that you, I can't work out what that line is there. I'm going to put it in as background. Maybe it's supposed to be a bit of flamingo foot. So, you know, you might rush it and then spoil it, sort of thing. So it's probably better to leave it a bit. And also, if you do it that way, you're more likely to stick with the picture, because I know some people will start a picture and then just leave it. They'll run out of energy for it and they'll just have a work in progress, and they might have lots and lots of these because they've done a bit of it. Maybe it didn't quite go as they wanted, and so they haven't had the heart to finish it. Whereas if you sort of keep it interesting and go back and forth with different bits, that can prevent you from doing it wrong and thinking you don't want to continue with it, or prevent you from just getting a little bit bored and wanting to put the book away. You know, sometimes I wish I could do that really, because those of you that have lots of outstanding work probably go, why on earth would you want that? But yes, I don't like having a work in progress. It plays on my mind, so I have to finish it. And what that means is that if I'm not really in the mood for it, then I spoil it, basically. You know, you might think, oh, you know, you don't spoil pictures. And I do show you all my work in my completed pages video. But I can look at some of them and think I could have done that a lot better. Do you know what I mean? I'm not being really self-critical, and I forgive myself, and I understand why, and try and learn from it for next time, which is why I'm sort of sharing this tip that I found, where you can just do a little bit. But I tend to sometimes start a page because I like one little bit, and then when I've done that bit, I'm not so enthused about the rest. Or if I'm finishing a book, the very last page I do is quite often one that I've been daunted by, and so that's the reason I haven't done it. So it might, you know, not look too brilliant. But you know, that's how it is. Right, I'm gonna fade that off now and go back. I'm going to fill this top bit in blue. So I'm going to come back down. I think I need to come out just a tad. There we go. I don't want you to be struggling to see what I'm doing. So back to number 30. And just sort of start blending it in down here, I think. And then working our way around. This should be a little bit easier because we've got this largish area. But on the other hand, large areas can be quite difficult. Because you need to trying to keep it even. And although I said I'm not too worried about keeping it really even, we don't want a really hard dark bit and then a really light bit. It needs to look sort of naturally uneven, not just rushed and messy. So I really want to go in that direction. I'm going to turn my book. I never do this, I know, I'm sorry. But I can't get that direction with it on its side. And I just want it, I find that it looks more like a sky with lines in that direction. If you do up and down lines, which I'll have to do in there, it looks like it's raining, I find, especially if they're really defined. If you do lines across like this, it can actually look like it's a bit of a sunset or you know, clouds. It looks more normal, natural, more sky-like, I feel anyway. Oh, there's the telephone. My son will get it. I don't think I'm needed. Yeah, I think it's his dad. Husband. You can chat to him. He's probably on his way home from work. Is it 6 o'clock? He's probably about to leave. So, my other son wants me to travel with him tomorrow to go to where he's got to go to university. He wants to get the train, and it's only local. Yeah. Grab the train, hop off, walk to the building that he's got to go to, and then walk back to the train, come back again, so that he knows what his journey is going to be. But he doesn't want to do it, you know, on his first day with his mother in tow. But he wants to just do it beforehand to make sure he knows where to go, which is absolutely fair. I didn't actually do that on my first day, but I can definitely understand him wanting to do that. I know, because when I went, I got a bus and it stopped right outside, and I knew there would be a lot of other students getting that bus, but because we're travelling from a town that doesn't tend to have students living in it, because it's quite far away, there might not be anyone to follow. Because I got the student bus, you see. So there was a campus near where I lived that I could catch it. So it was all students there, so it was pretty obvious. And some of them weren't, you know, they weren't all first years, so it was fine. But for him, he doesn't know people, and yeah, so I'm happy to do that with him, and then I'll know he'll be okay. Right, there is the background done. Now I'm going to leave that there for today. I think that's quite a lot. That's a bit pale here, but I think that'll do. And I've got a cup of coffee next door which I'm going to have a slurp of before I do the next part. But that's that, so let's just pop those pencils down. Yeah, so that's the beginning. I'm quite happy with that green and blue working together. It could be neater, but it isn't, and that's fine. I'm not going to stress about it. I might tidy it up in a later video. I won't do it outside of recording time, that's not fair. I'll show you what I'm doing, but I might pick the colours for the flowers and leaves while I'm not on, and let you know when I come back. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. Yeah, I hope you have a really super day, and happy colouring.